Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for the October meeting of the Woodside Fire Protection District. Seems like we just did this. Oh, we did. That was the special meeting. We thank you all for coming. We have a couple of regular agenda items to come, and then we have a closed session. When that comes, we will exit for the closed session, have that session and return to the public session and announce if we have any results to report. But first, before we begin, let me ask if there are any members of the general public who have arrived to make a comment about something not on the agenda. I will stop before each agenda item and ask if there are comments on those, but does someone wish to speak on a topic not on the agenda? I see no one, so we will move forward to the first section of the meeting, which is the consent agenda. Given we've all had a chance to look at this and all the numbers seem to be in line, I would entertain a motion to either discuss or to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The consent agenda is approved. Thank you very much. That will bring us to two regular agenda business items. The first will be the discussion and presentation of Eric Zabala as the fire chief for the district, effective December 31st, 2025. Seems like a strange thing to ask, but given it is an agenda item, I will ask, is there any member of the public who wishes to speak on this topic or make a comment? Kind of like a wedding where they ask if anybody really objects. Yet to see that myself, but would like to someday. There being no members of the public, perhaps Chief, you would say a few words as to this august occasion?
We formalized this at our special meeting we had, and just like to say, yes, please join me in congratulating our new fire chief, Eric Zabala. Chief Zabala will be filling the role of fire chief when I retire on December 30th. I'm talking to a crowd that already knows Eric, of course, but for those of you that don't know Eric, he was hired here as a firefighter paramedic in 2002. From there, he promoted through the ranks of captain in May of 2014 to battalion chief in 2022, and is currently serving as the deputy fire chief since 2024. With that, Eric brings years of experience in leadership, hands-on incident command, personal development, and has a deep commitment to public safety, training, and community education. Moving forward, I know Chief Zabala will do an excellent job advancing our district's mission with professionalism, transparency, and with the continued focus on results that protect lives and property. So I'd just like to say congratulations formally. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yes.
I'm very excited as well. I'll say the same thing now. I said in closed session when we discussed it. I've had a lot of experience, good and ill, hiring people and firing people, CEOs, board members, like hundreds of people. And it's really rare to find a situation where you feel really this good and comfortable making a decision like this for such an important position. And that's because you rarely find someone who's sort of seen in their life what they wanted when they were pretty young, grew up where it's really important that you understand the topography, the community, et cetera, and someone who's managed to actually assimilate and build the skills and the experiences that they need for the job. I mean, I've hired lots of CEOs and I would be darned if I was really that sure any of them could fit the culture of the company, the skill set, the rest. And, you know, anything can happen, but I'm just really excited to have somebody who's worked for this so hard for such a long period and so clear about their goals, that worked hard for their goals and, you know, has a chance to get them now. So I'm looking forward to the next chapter, engaging in the vision for the next 20, 30 years. And I love how you see yourself as sort of a steward of the organization. It's important as you talk to us of how you leave it. It's great that somebody that as they started is already thinking about that perspective. So I'm just real excited, and I still owe your wife a bottle of champagne. I failed to I remember my commitments.
Well, thank you very much.
Only getting more valuable in my laps.
I just say congratulations, well deserved, and really looking forward to the next few years together, and five or 6 years together.
But who's counting?
Yeah. No, I really think you're gonna do a great job, and glad we're here to work together. So awesome.
Yeah, likewise, and I think we're really fortunate to have somebody that, like we talked about before, that comes from the community, really understands the community. I think you'll do a great job for us, Eric. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. And for me, I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I'm humbled to be in this position. I work with absolutely tremendous people on a daily basis, and this is a very special place. I intend to keep it that way. and moves forward for generations to come. So very grateful for this opportunity, and thank you all very much.
I also want to thank the chief. for
Thank you, Chief.
His good sense and.
Many times, yes, for all of your mentorship, yes.
And everything he's done to bring
Thank you very much.
speed and everything you've done. This is the time to talk about your departure. You have a hard couple of months of work left.
Yeah.
And then we'll let
Yeah.
New Year's party.
Exactly.
So thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, well, that will bring us to item R2. This will be the first reading to introduce and waive reading of an ordinance of the Woodside Fire Protection District adopting the 2025 Fire Code and the 2025 California Wildland Urban Interface Code, including specified appendices and as modified by local amendments, adopting a finding that the ordinance is exempt from review under the California Environmental Quality Act and repealing ordinance number 13, the Fire Code and CEQA findings. And 2, scheduling a public hearing for November 18th, 2025, or such other date as we shall determine, to consider adopting, amending, or rejecting the Fire Code and CEQA findings. So that is the topic we're about to have. And I want to ask if anyone from the public wishes to make a comment on this before we discuss it. There are no members of the public that I can note in the list, and no one has asked to make a comment. So with that, then we will, why don't we have a brief discussion, and then we can agree to waive reading and have this thing in print. You know, obviously, every few years, this is something very important that we do, and I hope this year the district has done a good job, and Chief Giuliacci leading us to reach out to the towns early and to try to get feedback and, you know, really work through whatever issues we may have. I went through in full detail all of its glory, and the real action in this, in my opinion, is really not what's in our red line, but really more in the code we're adopting. But, you know, as I've asked a bunch of questions, it doesn't, you know, we're not really changing things dramatically with this code. And the questions I had written down to ask were really, you know, what Chief Giuliacci thinks are the major things major changes people will feel, and then what we've heard so far as good and bad from the towns as we've brought it forward.
So the first thing to comment is there is a Senate bill that was passed that puts basically a moratorium on being able to make our local ordinance more restrictive when it comes to residential homes. So with that, we didn't do anything that was more restrictive and change anything, but what we did do is we actually put a reduction to help in construction. One of the biggest obstacles we've been facing because of the increase in construction of residential homes is the fire flow requirements on a hydrant. And with the current infrastructure that we have in place, it wasn't a problem before. Maybe it was, but not so much because there wasn't as much construction. But now meeting the 1,000-gallon GPM requirement was definitely a challenge for most houses. And it brought about having to do alternate means and methods requests for other ways they can meet the intent of the code. So for this code cycle, after doing a lot of research and number crunching and seeing what we could reduce the hydrant fire flow to, it's been reduced to 750 GPMs for homes that are under 3,600 square feet only. And then the rest of the fire code will apply. So we still kept it a little bit more restrictive than the fire code states, but less restrictive than what our ordinance has had for a long time. And that's only because with the new laws in place with houses having to be sprinklered, that would help mitigate some of the problems already, because the whole purpose of a hydrant is for structure protection. And when firefighters go in, they're tying into a hydrant to basically put out the fire of a structure. So now that structures are fully sprinklered as a requirement by law, it kind of helps reduce that GPM requirement. So that's going to help a lot with people moving forward with because most people, they're right around that range. So it's going to be a lot easier moving forward. So that's one major change, but helpful for residents. The other major change, not so much a change, but change in language, is California now has their own WUI code. So all the building requirements for the wildland urban interface that used to exist in the building code in chapter 7A has now been moved to the California WUI code. It's been spread out somewhat within the code, but specific chapters. And we are only so the state has already adopted the entire WUI code, but it only is applicable to the very high and to the high soon when they make an amendment. But what the fire district did is because we have created a blanket with all our ordinances to apply to our entire district. The WUI code specific chapters will apply to the entire district, and that has to do with the construction. One question that's come up was, what does that mean for materials? You know, are you gonna accept, not accept certain materials? We don't set that standard, like saying you can only use this type of wood or this type of, we don't set that standard. The code only says the materials that are being used have to meet certain ratings and certain ways that they're tested and manufactured, and that's what we enforce. The building code is actually the authority that has over, or if the towns choose to have more restrictive requirements on specific types of materials that they will or will not accept, that's up to the building departments. And that's really the major changes that are in the code. Everything else has been the same. I think our last code adoption is where we had the most significant changes that we brought in. We really didn't have anything to add to this code. I did delete a lot of sections in our code that weren't applicable to our district, so kind of thinned it out. And also modified some language just to make it more sense, have it make more sense and more straightforward for people who are reading it.
Thank you. And so many people, that's always their question is what's more restrictive? And it sounds like ignition resistant materials were already what the towns were after. The towns will continue to decide at the end of the day, what is an ignition resistant material? So you wouldn't expect somebody who's going for approval on something the day before this goes into effect and the day after to really have much difference with the different jurisdictions involved. It's their decision, as you said, it's not ours. And that's the other thing I want to make sure people all understand as they ask that question, which is we're just trying to keep up with the standard state WUI code. Then yes, we've decided many years ago to treat the entire district as a WUI. And I think the Edgewood fire was actually a pretty good example of that, because when people tried to convince me it should be different, the thing people would throw out is, well, just draw 280 down the middle of it and you can treat everything on the other side as different. Well, that could have gone real different. And it was a good example of why it's not the case. And we had the discussion around Ladera many times, but you can see the simulations that we've done over the years and the scenarios, plenty of different ways that the winds and the embers can be in there. So I continue to fully support treating the entire district as one ecosystem, one unit. And I think it's really important that we can start to build safer homes. I mean, even the stuff we're doing now isn't really gonna change much for a long time. And we build 5, 10, 15 new homes a year, maybe in each town, if that. So like, I get where we're going. I know we're all gonna get the question though, and there are some people that seem to think that, different people have different notions of what this is about, but we're not trying to restrict what people are doing, just trying to keep them safe. So I'm fully supportive, and I didn't have any additional questions.
I have one more comment
Please.
to make, just so you know. Yes, both towns and the county this was shared with them back at the end of September, so they've had the document. I spoke to their contracted town building official for both towns. Fortunate for me, it happened to be the same person that they're contracting with, and neither town knew about it. But he was also in agreement, read through the ordinance, didn't have any questions or any objections to anything. They will also be adopting the California WUI code requirements within their building code for their ordinance. So we're going to all be very consistent. And then the last comment that I didn't say is the changes that are very small, not much in language changes. Most of it is applicable to commercial construction, which we really don't have a lot of. So that's it.
And there's nothing, the word fence doesn't appear anywhere. It doesn't seem to be covered by this because it's not considered a building issue.
No, correct.
Stay with that's this. Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
No, I thought it was good. I thought you streamlining it a bit like you did, taking out some of those, kind of extraneous pieces. That was helpful. Just to make this clearer. And I think I agree that, just taking the blanket approach and clarification that this is everything in the district is a WUI. I think that's just a sensible way to do this. It's really hard to, I think, sort of say, well, this neighborhood looks different or should be treated differently. I just think that that's not the reality of if we face a fire. I don't think that's gonna make a bit of difference.
They seem connected.
Yeah.
So I'll just reiterate the concept that I think we'll do a resolution on in a minute. The next step will be to have a public hearing on the 18th, though we would encourage anyone who has feedback to share it with us in advance, because the way the process goes is it is quite possible we would be having the public hearing and then adopting within, 20 minutes of that time. So if anyone does have strong feedback, they should bring it up. I'm assuming we wouldn't have the type of concern we've had on other issues by large landowners because it's not a building topic. Whether that's Mid-Penn or Stanford isn't affected.
And
by
I've
this.
shared the ordinance with them just so
Sure.
that they're aware,
Yeah.
even though nothing was impacting them at all.
All stakeholders, yeah.
Yeah. And it's also been posted, it'll be in the publishings for the Almanac this Friday and next Friday.
Okay. Well, then at this point, I would entertain a motion to do all the things this says, but you'll probably have to read them again in the motion.
I'll let Randy do this motion.
Maybe the time or the crayons.
Place in the document here, so. Let's see, I propose a motion. R2, right?
There's our two.
Yeah, okay, R2.
To introduce and waive, and then to schedule a public hearing, and then
Okay, I got it.
to find that it's sequa,
All in one breath.
not sequel like,
All right.
yeah, you can't take a breath.
Propose a motion that we have our first reading and waive,
Introduce and wait for you.
introduce and waive the reading. Where do I jump back in here? Let's see,
No, you could have read the whole thing by now.
well, let's just do that. Okay, first reading, 1, introduce and waive the reading of an ordinance of the Woodside Fire Protection District adopting 2025 California Fire Code and the 2025 California Wildland Urban Interface Code, including specific appendices and as modified by local amendments, adopting a finding that the ordinance is exempt from review under the California Environmental Quality Act and repealing ordinance number 13, the fire code and CEQA findings. And 2, schedule a public hearing for November 18th, 2025, or such other date as determined by the Board of Directors to consider adopting, amending, or rejecting the fire code and CEQA findings.
Oh, let me wake myself up. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 The measure unanimously passes. We will have a public hearing on November 18th. And we will work forward. Thank you very much. That will bring us to staff reports. I appreciate all the information contained therein.
We need to ask for public comment on
The
the.
staff reports, I did
No,
before this thing.
okay,
I asked if there was a public comment before
trying to
that.
find it.
So I was noting a bunch of new work going on in different areas. One thing I did caught my eye, I guess, was I love the chipper program. It's a great chipper program. And I was surprised how well used it is in some areas, like Westridge. You had like 100-something piles, and how like nobody uses it in other areas. You had like 2 cubic yards, which I could put in my bathtub. What it made me think is that it's just like how inefficient that must be for the team to sort of have a day scheduled and have 2 piles to pick up. But I'm not really worried about that, and I don't want to waste our time on it. My thought broader than that was I was trying to add up the total amount of cubic yards of picked up debris over the 4 months we do it. And it looked like it was 600-800 cubic yards or something like that. My question is actually, I assume somebody has actually looked at this and figured out that it makes more sense for us to be doing all this ourselves rather than contracting with a local chipper truck. I'm assuming because those same resources we have to keep running all year and change blades in and do oil changes in and all that crap are also used for the mitigation efforts I see along Sand Hill and the rest. And as long as we have all those resources, yeah, I'm sure I can't get a better price out of Davy. But I want us just to keep thinking that way or figure out if there's a way to make our time more efficient. When I saw just some of the days those folks must have had, and the new system is probably improves it because you knew you only had a few piles to pick up. And those
Well, to go with that on those lighter days, then they can refocus on doing right of way work.
So they can do 2 things in one day.
Yes, they
So,
can,
yeah,
because we can run multiple crews now. We have the staffing for it, and our next crew, they're almost done being self-reliant, that they're trained to do a lot more.
good.
So it makes us, and the cost is also all cost recovery, which is good, because between the contracts we have with both towns and us, that pay into that cost recovery to budget this program.
That's what I thought, because honestly, when it sort of occurred to me, I was like, oh crap, I hope somebody's figured out this makes sense. I went to look in the budget and I saw that we didn't really have to budget much for it, so
Yeah, it's
it's a big
cost
win.
recovery, so it'll-
I would tell you, I think it's also a big win when people see the remediation at work. I stopped at Sand Hill a few times and everyone could see what was going on there and, hike on Apache. I was wandering down there the other day, you could see the work being done. And I really do feel like since we started this effort on vegetation management really hard a couple of years ago, you just hike around the district and drive around the district and stuff is lighter.
Yeah.
You see people, you see the front of people's houses sometimes, like hiking around Westridge even, it used to be just walls of crap on either side of the road. Not that that's bad, but I do think people are starting to kind of get the message, and by seeing us out there doing it and clearing what looks better along the roads, I think it's actually quite helpful.
We have been rated one of the top chipping programs through the Ready, Set, Go program for the entire country. Because we report all our numbers and we've been recognized as being one of the highest leaders there.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Just have to get those up.
For being a
there.
small
Yeah.
district, we're doing a lot.
doing a lot.
Super.
Awesome.
I also saw our new engines delayed yet again, but it sounds like it'll still be here, so that's okay, but. Anyway, that's what I took from reports. That and your oven blew up, apparently. I find it ironic.
Yeah,
You guys got the bad oven.
It's been bad for a while.
Produce spikes didn't sound good.
yeah,
That brings us to fire chief's report.
Okay. Yeah, district updates, let's see, last week ago, October 16th, the district conducted our own organizational readiness drill, which was centered around the Great Shakeout. We conducted a tabletop exercise involving a major earthquake that struck the region. Training session was put together and led by Captain Jonathan Francisco, the command staff, our admin staff. Everybody attended. The tabletop simulation scenario was about a major earthquake that occurred in the region. The drill was hands-on, had us opening and filling all the roles in our department operations center, utilizing our department operation plan. Great exercise. It was real well received. I think we all, took notes in it and learned something out of it, and look forward to, in the future conducting more of these. I won't be involved, but yeah, more of these.
Captain Francisco did a phenomenal job
Yeah.
of putting this together. He put a lot of hours into it. It was well thought out. Yeah, I thought it was great for us to actually get out there and just see where we're at and start from there and then continue to build on that. So it was a great drill. We all got to communicate, see what was gonna work, troubleshoot some things. And some good stuff came out of it. So we're gonna try to make it at least an annual thing and learn from each lesson. And I think the next one will be a different scenario and we'll build on what we have. So it was a great training.
Yeah, it's too bad that earthquake swarm didn't happen the day that you were doing that.
It did.
That was the day.
Yeah, that was the day.
That was kind of.
We had like
in this
3 or
Zoom call.
4. I think it was like 3 or 4.
I looked on the USGS, and there's actually like 6 or 8.
Yeah.
But some of them were as small as 0.7, but they're all within like a quarter
Woodside.
mile
Yeah.
of like near Woodside Center,
Yeah.
just south of the center, they could see it on the map. And
I felt
And they
one
stopped.
very, very minimally at my house.
That's
It
right,
just-
yeah,
it
they
just
were on
kind of
that
just
day.
boom.
we're right on the fault.
The sun was
We
like,
felt everyone.
What was that? So,
It was the San Andreas for sure.
yeah, it was incredible.
The whole house was the type that like just got one jolt and that was it, but the whole house jolted pretty good
We had,
twice.
we had a command staff text going and I think I said, let's
Yeah.
open the DOC.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's the fault tolerance of
It
the
was-
system.
yeah.
so.
thankfully.
Good reminder there.
Yeah.
Hadn't had this for a while.
And let's see, promotional exams, October 14th, we held our captain's assessment tests. That was held, we had 4 candidates going through the process. Tomorrow is actually the interviews, so it'll be the final part of that process, and then we'll establish a list to promote from. We will have a captain's opening with Captain Jim Laughlin retiring November 6th. So he's coming up on his day to retire, so this new list may fill in that position.
Great.
Otherwise, I have my regular T-Mobile update, met with him this morning.
Our new cellular provider.
Yeah.
Can we get a break?
Right.
No, we're gonna turn that thing off.
We decided to add them to our network and take out somebody else, so.
That's fine.
So yeah, they're installing a new pole Friday night across the street from Station 7, and then they'll link the power will be connected. And then within the next like 2 to 3 weeks, they'll be installing the AT&T fiber line. Once that's installed, they can make the transition to the cow, or from the cow to the new pole. And then the cow will disappear. They promised me that by the end of the year, the cow will be done, so.
It'll be your retirement. gift.
Yeah.
yeah, we gotta get a picture of you out there, with your arm around.
Yeah. 2 to 3 years of having nothing on the property.
Some extrication equipment to cut the pole. Yeah.
Other than that, let's see, last week, Chiefs Zabala and Giuliacci attended the local hazard mitigation plan meeting down at county DEM. They were there, that process just kicked off, and I think it's supposed to be done by June of 26, so June of next year.
Yeah.
It's a county plan and they're working with a contracted provider. We give them all our information. They build the product out of that and pass it on, so.
Yeah.
That looks like we're already ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of people using some of the information from the past. I know I was involved with it in the past years, but yeah, that was moving on from the county level. Other than that, state fire updates, fire season is kind of, knock on wood, it's kind of taken a calming effect with the weather change. We've had 7,439 fires. And the amount of acreage it just increased by like about 11 or 1,200 acres from last month. So 522,000 acres. Yeah, that's all I have.
All right, well, let's hope it keeps raining for the, it's not going to for a while now. Alrighty, that then brings us to written communications if there are any.
No,
All right.
communications.
And that then will bring us to the end of the open session. I will now introduce the closed session, which will take a while since I have to read it, so feel free to take and talk amongst yourselves. We will then exit open session, enter closed session, and return back out and report if there's something to report on. The closed session for tonight, item CS1, is a conference with labor negotiators under Government Code Section 54957.6 with agency designated representatives, Fire Chief Tom Casheri, Deputy Fire Chief Eric Zabala, Employee Organization San Mateo County Firefighters IAFF Local 2400 District 9, also Employee Organization Woodside Fire Protection District Chief Officers, and unrepresented employees, Finance Manager, HR Benefits Manager, Public Education Officer, Fuel Mitigation Officer, Fire Inspectors, Receptionist. So we are going to enter that session now, and we will be ending the public broadcast for now. We will rejoin the public broadcast after we have this discussion. And if there are reportable events, we will report them at that time. I thank you all for your loyal attendance and encourage you to get on with your evenings. See you next month.
Thank you, everybody.
So great.
And we are back live.
Thank you very much. We have rejoined the live broadcast on the open session. We've concluded our closed session, the conference with labor negotiators. We have taken no action, no reportable action, so there is nothing to update the public on at this time. Therefore, I will call the meeting to a close and we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all very much. We'll see you back next month.